Welcome. Right now, nearly every leader is facing the same strategic challenge. How do you plan when the ground beneath your feet just keeps shifting?
It feels impossible sometimes.
It really does. Today, we are diving deep into organizational resilience and strategic planning, specifically for, well, the volatile next couple of years.
And we're working from some really targeted excerpts from a piece called Future Ready Leadership, Building Resilience for 2026.
Right, and it's aimed squarely at CEOs, at C-suite executives who need to stop the analysis paralysis. They need to make tough, actionable decisions now.
So our mission today, it isn't about finding a crystal ball.
No, not at all. Our mission is to pull out the playbook for building a business that can adapt, that can move and flex.
A business designed for change.
Exactly, not one that's trying to achieve the impossible, which is being future-proof.
And that distinction right there, that's the crucial starting point.
Yeah.
If you're still chasing future-proof, you're looking for stability in a system that is fundamentally unstable.
It's a chase that just drains resources. Time, money, energy.
So much energy. And the source material is very clear on this. There is no such thing as future-proof. The only practical, actionable goal for any leader right now is to become future-ready.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The source really hammers home this uncomfortable truth that flexibility is the new competitive edge.
The absolute new edge.
And this is the line that really stuck with me. Markets are not fragile, businesses are.
Oof. That hits hard, doesn't it? Because it immediately changes how you diagnose failure.
How so?
Well, it means the threat isn't the external chaos, supply chain disruption or a new technology. The market will adapt. It always does.
The issue is internal. It's rigidity.
Yes. The market adapts, but the business, which is hampered by its own history and its processes, it just can't keep up.
Exactly. And when you look at the businesses that really struggled, it wasn't always bad products or thin margins. The source points to three specific self-inflicted behaviors.
So,
First, they lock themselves into outdated structures. We call it organizational inertia, but really, it's just comfort.
it's the way we've always done it. The second behavior is maybe the most insidious because on the surface, it feels like good management.
Over-optimizing.
Over-optimizing for yesterday's demand. You perfected the machine for a world that existed last quarter, and when things change, that perfect machine just becomes brittle and very expensive.
You've built a high-performance race car for one specific track, but the race just moved off-road.
That's it. And the third one. The third fatal behavior is the one that sounds the most responsible.
Waiting for absolute clarity before making a move.
Yes. You see leaders just paralyzed by uncertainty. They miss the window to act because they're waiting for that 99% accurate forecast.
But that clarity is a luxury that just doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't. And this is the fundamental mindset shift the source insists on. You have to accept that you will be wrong.
That's a core premise.
It has to be. You have to assume that whatever plan you make today will eventually break or become irrelevant.
So if the plan is guaranteed to break, the entire strategic focus has to shift.
Completely. It stops being about achieving perfection in the initial plan. That's impossible.
And it becomes about
Achieving recovery speed. The winner isn't the company that avoids the pothole. It's the company that recovers from it faster than the competition.
And if you connect that idea, recovery speed, to the actual planning process,
Yeah,
you see why the traditional models are failing.
because they were all built on assumptions that are now just, defunct. Steady demand growth, stable channels.
Rational customers, linear team scaling, none of it holds up.
And when you pull those assumptions out, the whole framework just collapses.
We used to start every planning session with, how do we hit 15% growth? But that target might be totally irrelevant by Q2. So the question has to pivot.
From how do we grow
To
what can change without breaking us.
yes, growth in this new context is no longer the target. Growth becomes a byproduct of having a highly adaptable system.
Which requires real structural changes.
It does. And to build that kind of adaptable system, future-ready businesses are making 4 very specific design choices right now. Wait, hold on a second. If we're planning to fail and we're shifting away from these big growth targets, doesn't that risk creating internal chaos? Just constant change.
That's a great question, and it speaks to the rigor that's needed here. The goal isn't chaos, it's controlled flexibility. And these 4 design choices are the guardrails.
Okay, so what's the first one?
First, they implement fast decision cycles. No more 5 committees reviewing every single move. They push decision-making power down.
Down to the lowest relevant level, which is only possible if you have that 4th design choice you mentioned, clear ownership and accountability.
Exactly. If there's any ambiguity in who owns a decision, the whole process slows to a crawl and your recovery speed just plummets.
Okay, so fast decisions and clear ownership. What's number two?
Number two is huge. Modular teams. Instead of rigid departments, you structure teams like interchangeable units.
So if a product line needs to scale or shift, you can just unplug one module and reallocate it.
Or spin up a new one without destabilizing the entire org chart.
It's like building with Legos instead of cement. You replace the block, not the whole building.
Precisely. And the third choice reinforces that. Replaceable vendors and tools. This is all about eliminating single points of failure.
You mean not being reliant on one supplier for a critical component or one proprietary software platform?
Exactly. If that one thing breaks, your entire system seizes up. Future-ready businesses intentionally diversify their tools and their partners.
So if we've restructured our planning around this idea of flexibility, how does that change a core function like, say, marketing?
Great transition.
Yeah.
The source highlights a huge danger here, which it calls exposure.
Marketing exposure.
Yes, and it's lethal because it looks successful right up until the moment it fails catastrophically.
And that happens when the whole organization relies on one channel, like a single social media platform.
Or one campaign type, or even one magic hire whose genius can't be replicated.
You're building your entire house on rented land.
That's it. And when the platform changes its algorithm or that key person leaves, the whole revenue stream just evaporates.
So the key insight here is that marketing has to behave more like infrastructure.
Think about it like a utility. Water, electricity, it has to be always on, measurable, flexible, and crucially, reusable.
You're building long-term compounding assets, not just temporary bursts of noise.
That is such a powerful distinction. If your marketing disappears the second you stop spending,
then it wasn't infrastructure, it was just a cost. It built no long-term equity.
So the winning strategy isn't about being the loudest. It's about quality. It's about consistency. The brands that win will be clearer and easier to trust.
And that means a total shift in how you allocate resources. The source says future-proof marketing prioritizes three things. First, brand clarity before lead volume.
Know who you are and who you serve. That's your anchor.
Second, own content before rented attention. So investing in things on your site, not just paying for clicks on someone else's.
And third, systems before stunts. Stunts are flashy, but they don't scale. Systems, like a predictable content pipeline, are the engine of resilience. You're building a factory, not a one-off circus performance.
This brings us to a really interesting section on operational simplicity. We often equate complexity with sophistication, right? We add layers, we add tools.
We add checks and balances.
But the core argument here is that simplicity is actually far more resilient. Complexity is expensive and, frankly, dangerous in an uncertain world.
It's so counterintuitive, but complexity is rigid. Think about that race car analogy again. The race car is a marvel of complexity, but it only works on a perfect track.
The off-road vehicle is simpler, more robust, it survives.
It moves faster when the terrain gets rough.
But wait, doesn't simplification mean cutting redundancy? Aren't you cutting the buffers you need for that resilience?
Not at all. It's about prioritizing fewer with incredible discipline. Resilient companies have fewer tools, but the ones they keep are deeply integrated.
Fewer layers of management.
Which shortens communication paths. Fewer handoffs between teams, which cuts down friction. And fewer dependencies on any single system.
So simplicity is the new armor. It's what lets the business move fast.
And speed is the whole point. This relentless simplification lets them obsess over the things that actually deliver reliability. They focus on four obsessions.
First, clear workflows. Everyone knows the path a project takes.
Second, decision rights. We touched on this, but operationally, it means defining who says yes or no at every critical point. It's a massive bottleneck killer.
Third, documentation. This sounds boring, but in a crisis, if your systems aren't documented, your recovery speed drops to zero.
Documentation is your institutional memory. It allows for that modularity we talked about.
And fourth, truly repeatable processes. If every project is a unique snowflake, you can't scale. You can't recover quickly.
The chain of logic here is short and, I think, undeniable. Simple companies move faster.
And fast companies survive longer. That's the competitive advantage right there.
So that brings us to the top-level challenge, leadership. What is the role of the leader when you can't provide certainty?
And the source is direct on this. It says your team doesn't actually need you to predict the future.
In fact, trying to do that and then failing just breeds distrust.
Right. What the team needs is direction, not certainty. And the research outlines what leaders must provide. First, set crystal clear priorities.
When everything feels urgent, the leader has to define what is truly important.
Second, remove organizational friction. Just get the bureaucracy out of the way.
Third, and this is probably the hardest part of modern leadership, making decisions with incomplete information. You have to be comfortable with a 60% decision.
Knowing you can adjust quickly because your systems are simple.
And finally, adjusting that direction without drama. No one wants a 5-alarm fire every time the plan shifts.
That adjustment without drama, that's key. It ties directly to what the source calls the new language of confidence.
Right, because confidence no longer comes from pretending you're certain. It comes from being transparently prepared.
It's a fundamental change in communication.
It is. So instead of saying, we will hit X target next quarter, leaders should be saying things like, here's what we know based on the current data.
And then follow it up with, here's what we're testing to validate our assumptions.
And the most powerful one, the one that reinforces that recovery mindset.
Here's what changes if this breaks.
That kind of honesty builds incredible trust. It reframes a failure from a catastrophe into a planned course correction. We knew this could happen, and we have a path forward.
It turns the leader from a fortune teller into an honest guide.
Which makes everyone feel safer and allows them to take the risks needed for speed.
So what does this all mean for you? You don't need a crystal ball for 2026. You just need a business that's designed for movement. Let's synthesize those mandatory focus areas one last time.
Okay. Focus area 1. Build systems that can bend, prioritize modularity and speed over that old monolithic stability.
2. Invest in clarity before scale. Know who you are, because that's your anchor when everything else is volatile.
3. Treat marketing like infrastructure. A compounding asset that's always on, not a temporary cost.
4. Simplify operations relentlessly. Cut the tools, cut the layers, and perfect the basics.
And 5. Lead decisively. Provide direction, remove friction, even when the data is messy, and use that new language of confidence.
That recovery speed really is the ultimate edge. And if you're already behind because you're planning like the world is going to politely follow your forecast,
then the source leaves us with a final, provocative question. Stop trying to avoid failure. Start practicing recovery.
So the question to mull over is this.
What internal system are you going to test and break first on purpose, just to see how fast you can rebuild it? Because that deliberate practice of high-speed recovery, that is the only true competitive moat in an uncertain future.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into future-ready leadership. We hope this gives you a blueprint to design a business that's ready for whatever comes next.